Hey, what's up, stock compounders? Brad here. So today we're going to talk about the eighth psychology of human misjudgment from Poor Charlie's Almanack. That is envy, jealousy, tendency. Okay, this is a big one. So first, I'm just going to read the section from Poor Charlie's Almanack, and then we're going to get into this Farnham Street blog post on, of course, envy and jealousy. This is fantastic, by the way. I'm just going to highlight a few things in this post, but I encourage all of you to go through this, read the whole thing. And then we're going to check in with our AI friend, ChatGPT, to see what it has to say on the topic. So, number 8, envy, jealousy, tendency. A member of a species designed through evolutionary process to want often scarce food is going to be driven strongly toward getting food when it first sees food. And this is going to occur often and tend to create some conflict when the food is seen in the possession of another member of the same species. This is probably the evolutionary origin of the envy-jealousy tendency that lies so deep in human nature. Sibling jealousy is clearly very strong and usually greater in children than adults. It is often stronger than jealousy directed at strangers. Kantian fairness tendency probably contributes to this result. Envy-jealousy is extreme in myth, religion, and literature, wherein, in account after account, it triggers hatred and injury. It was regarded as so pernicious by the Jews of the civilization that preceded Christ that it was forbidden by phrase after phrase in the laws of Moses. You were even warned by the prophet not to covet your neighbor's donkey. And envy-jealousy is also extreme in modern life. For instance, university communities often go bananas when some university employee in money management or some professor in surgery gets annual compensation in multiples of the standard professorial salary. And in modern investment banks, law firms, etc., the envy-jealousy effect are usually more extreme than they are in university faculties. Many big law firms, fearing disorder from envy-jealousy, have long treated all senior partners alike in compensation, no matter how different their contributions to firm welfare. As I have shared the observation of life with Warren Buffett over decades, I have heard him wisely say on several occasions, "It is not greed that drives the world, but envy." And because this is roughly right, one would expect a vast coverage of envy-jealousy in psychology textbooks. But no such vast coverage existed when I read my 3 textbooks. Indeed, the very words envy and jealousy were often absent from indexes. Non-discussion of envy-jealousy is not a phenomenon confined to psychology texts. When did any of you last engage in any large group discussion of some issue wherein adult envy-jealousy was identified as the cause of someone's argument? There seems to be a general taboo against any such claim. If so, what accounts for the taboo? My guess is that people widely and generally sense that labeling some position as driven by envy, jealousy, will be regarded as extremely insulting to the position taker, possibly more so when the diagnosis is correct than when it is wrong. And if calling a position envy-driven is perceived as the equivalent of describing its holder as a childish mental basket case, then it is quite understandable how a general taboo has arisen. But should this general taboo extend to psychology texts when it creates such a large gap in the correct psychological explanation of what is widespread and important? My answer is no. So there you go. I mean, part of what makes it such a powerful thing is this taboo against talking about it, right? We all just kind of want to sweep it under the rug and act like it doesn't exist. And of course, thinking about stock markets, right? This is something I think Buffett has said. You get these wide swings between fear and greed, right? So it would seem, at first glance, that fear and greed really drive the stock market. And yet here you have envy, which is even more of a driver of the world than fear and greed. So very powerful mental model here. I'm just going to read the first couple paragraphs in Farnham Street and then jump down to some of the antidotes, right? What can we do? It is a fact of life. We are not equal. Not biologically, not culturally. Some inequities come from flawed governing systems, but most are simply due to luck, the vagaries of life. Some of us are born healthier, prettier, smarter than others. Some will encounter opportunities to become extremely wealthy, and some will simply be born at the right place and the right time. Just as many will be born without such good fortune. It is difficult to imagine that these differences will not matter in our everyday interactions. When you think of how natural the differences among us are, you should quickly come to realize the potential power and frequency that bias from envy and jealousy can have on world affairs. It is built deeply into the human condition from birth. So something from Seneca here, one of the most famous Stoics. Content with his lot, whatever it be, without wishing for what he has not. That's a wise man. So I'm going to scroll down to some of the antidotes here. There are several, that's not it. Here it is. How should we deal with envy at a personal level? There are 3 ways to overcome envy. The first is to focus on the differences between you and the other person rather than the similarities. Examine the situation. You are not as alike as you think you are. Number 2, the second is more difficult, but we certainly find we can do it in other contexts. Shape your malicious envy into a drive to improve and learn, right? Use it as fuel to better yourself. From every person that we envy, there is a virtue that we can learn from and strive towards. Thirdly, envy can be avoided over time with simple, repetitive denial. So this is fascinating. We can combat envy and jealousy, right, with another bias, denial. Don't let yourself become envious of others' deserved success. Stop the feelings in its tracks if you can. As for undeserved success, remind yourself that the world is not a fair place that owes us what we wish. Remind yourself that the success of others does not reflect on you and does not take away from you. Envy is a somewhat childish emotion, one that hurts us as we get older. There's a little snippet about jealousy here. Jumping to the end, the sins of jealousy and envy drive huge swaths of human behavior. But if we work to understand it and see it in ourselves and others, it doesn't have to drive ours. Thank you, Farnham Street. And then lastly, let's see what ChatGPT has to say. Envy and jealousy tendency refer to the innate human tendency to compare oneself to others and feel resentful or desirous of what they have. Now, this reminds me, I think it was something I got from Naval Ravikant. He said, if you're going to be envious of someone or jealous of them, you have to, take on not just the things that you're envious of, but all of the baggage that they have in their lives, right? All of the struggles. You can't just cherry pick what you wish you had. Okay, you've got to see the whole picture of what their life is actually like. That would be, a much truer version of, well, I guess it just helps us cut through the envy to realize, okay, maybe they have things a little bit better in this one aspect of life, but there's so much of their lives that I don't know anything about. Maybe I wouldn't actually want to be them. Envy involves feeling discontent about others' possessions, achievements, or advantages, while jealousy refers to feeling threatened by the possibility of losing something that one has to another person. So there's a little distinction there between envy and jealousy. These tendencies can lead to various misjudgments. 1, focusing on what others have rather than on one's own accomplishments and goals, which can lead to feelings of inadequacy and demotivation. 2, believing that others' success is undeserved, which can lead to a negative view of the world and undermine one's ability to appreciate and learn from others. 3, making unfair comparisons between oneself and others, which can distort one's perception of reality and lead to unrealistic expectations and disappointments. 4, misinterpreting others' intentions or actions as a threat to one's own well-being, which can lead to irrational fears, suspicion, and conflict. 5, engaging in destructive behavior such as gossiping, undermining, or sabotaging others to bring them down to one's level, which can harm oneself and others in the long run. Okay, obviously, those are destructive behaviors. In conclusion, envy and jealousy tendency can be detrimental to one's emotional and psychological well-being and can lead to misjudgments that can harm oneself and others. It is essential to be aware of these tendencies and learn how to manage them effectively to promote healthy and positive relationships with both oneself and others. So that was kind of a whirlwind tour of the innate envy, jealousy tendency. Number 8 in Charlie Munger's Psychology of Human Misjudgment section in Poor Charlie's Almanack. So hopefully you enjoyed that, guys. There's a lot to say on that, and of course there's even more. I'll link to this Farnham Street article in the description if you'd like to go deeper. And with that, thanks for watching. I will see you all in the next one. Take care.